Welcome back, everybody. It's a very exciting day. I have Blackstone's brand new 900 pellet grill. Let's make baby back ribs. First things first, let's fire it up and we'll crank this up to 250 degrees. I have the hopper filled with hickory pellets, and a big shout out to my friends at Suckle Busters. Picked up their stuff at Buc-ee's years ago and have been using it ever since. They just hooked me up with a sweet care package. But first things first, baby back ribs. I picked these up at Sam's Club. They've been sitting out here at room temperature for the last 30 minutes or so. Usually two choices when you go to the grocery store. Back loin rib, a baby back rib like this, or a St. Louis style rib. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dry these up first. Don't need to do a lot of prep work. Most of the barbecue experts just recommend that you get in there on the back side of the rib and you pull up this membrane, and this is just gonna help our rub to get in to the meat a little better, and this will make for a way more tender rib. And the same thing on the second rack. Just gonna get in there to that membrane and peel that back away from the ribs. 99% of all barbecue people are going to use mustard as a binder. Don't worry if you're not a huge fan of mustard. You're not going to taste this at the end. It's just going to allow the rub to bind, that's why they call it a binder, to the meat. Mustard is definitely the most widely used binder. Let's use the hog, waller, pork, and rib rub. Gonna shake it on there. I like to use a lot of product. Don't be wimpy. Flip them over to the front side. Lots of people use the 3-2-1 method. We're gonna shorten that a little bit today. It's gonna be a 2-1-30 method. So here we go. We're almost at 250. Let's open her up. I'm not gonna need my top rack today, so we can pull that out. Two hours at 250 degrees. It's been about 1 hour. I'm gonna open the pellet grill. I'm gonna spray the ribs with apple cider vinegar. Some people like to use Pepsi or Coke. Dr. Pepper is great. We don't want them to dry out, so every 30 minutes or so, I'm gonna give them just a light misting of the apple cider vinegar. Earlier, I mentioned the 3-2-1 method, and we're doing a more abbreviated version of that today. Traditionally, with like a St. Louis style rib that has a lot more fat and it's harder to break down, people like to do 3 hours of just cooking on the grates, 2 hours wrapped in foil, sometimes with butter or Dr. Pepper or something, and then a final hour at the end of just sitting out by itself with a glaze on there with a barbecue sauce. Since baby back ribs cook up a lot quicker, we're gonna abbreviate that. So 2 hours on the grate with the rub, 1 hour in the foil with some butter and some other stuff, and then probably around 30 minutes or so at the end with the barbecue sauce on for a glaze. We're right about the 2 hour mark, still at 250 degrees. Oh yeah, things are starting to look really good. You might want to use heat resistant gloves when you're doing this. I'm just gonna use food safe gloves and be really quick onto my cutting board. Remember, that's really hot, so just be careful. You can see the fat starting to render out of the ribs. We're getting a nice bark on there. Gonna use some heavy duty aluminum foil. A little bit of butter. Sometimes people use Dr. Pepper, Pepsi and Coke, and all those other things. We're gonna go with butter and some honey, so the ribs are gonna get nice and moist, and they're gonna steam, and they're gonna break down inside the foil. I'm gonna grab that first rack, and we're gonna put the meat side down right on top of that butter and honey. Back over to the Blackstone. Gonna put these meat side down, so the butter and honey side down. And set our timer for 1 more hour. I'm back. It's been another hour. So we had 2 hours rubbed on the grates at 250. We had an hour in the foil with the butter and the honey. Once again, being careful. It's hot foil. Gonna pull these. When it's all said and done, you want these to be at least 200 to 205. You can see we're pretty darn close. 204 degrees. I'm just gonna pour that juice off. Some people use that to make their own barbecue sauce, but we're gonna use the suckle buster today, so we're gonna get rid of that. Oh man, these are looking so good. I'm using my external temperature probe. I should point out that the 900 pellet grill also comes with temperature probes. Comes with 2 and there's a space for 4. So you can have one inserted like this while you're cooking and you can get a live temperature read. As you can see, that's going up and it's measuring right now 130, 140, 150, up to 160, etc. Let's grab the Suckle Buster barbecue sauce down on top of those ribs. I'm gonna brush it in. I just want to make sure that the ribs have this beautiful glaze on, and we're going to put them back in the pellet grill for another 15 minutes, maybe another 30 minutes if we needed to get up to temperature, but we're pretty darn close right now. On to the grate. Oh man. They look good. Close this. Like I said, we want to get up to 200 to 205 degrees. If the temperature was a little bit lower, probably closer to 30 minutes. So I'm going to monitor things, probably at least 15 minutes, but as much as 30 minutes in total. It's been 30 minutes, so 2 hours, 1 hour, and approximately 30 minutes. Here we go. Take a look at that. First things first, I'm gonna turn the power off. I smoked a lot of ribs in my day. I have multiple old smokers, but this is the first for me. I just got the Blackstone Pellet Grill a couple of weeks ago. We did a couple of rounds of chicken wings, and the first time with ribs, and I'm telling you what, they couldn't possibly look any better. Here we go, moment of truth. Be careful, it's hot. You might want to have gloves when you're doing this. Oh man. And in for the second rack. Wow. They look so darn good. In the past, I'll be honest with you, I pretty much just shoved my ribs in the smoker for 3 or 4 hours until they were done. New to me is doing the method where we switch to foil in the middle and then finish them up with the glaze. They couldn't possibly look any better. You can see the meat pulling away from the bone. I'm gonna let them sit here on my shelf for 10 minutes or so. I'm super excited. It's been about 15 minutes. Let's get in there. Oh man, look at that. That gorgeous pink smoke ring. Feel the bark on the outside. I can't wait to sink my teeth into these. Just glistening in the sun. Whew. Look at that. Oh man, let's give it a try. I'm gonna keep going in for more. It's tough to set that down. Take one last look at these beautiful ribs. These came out absolutely perfect. We'll get this recipe up at blackstoneproducts.com, and make sure you're watching all the shows on the Blackstone Network because we have a lot of them. And if you're interested in the brand new Blackstone 900 Pellet Grill, you can pick that up at blackstoneproducts.com. It's our second pellet grill. Of course, we also have the pellet grill and griddle combo available at Lowe's. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, this is Todd. Praise the Lord and pass the ribs. I got to get back to eating.